What would your life look like if you stopped living for approval? You're at a dinner table sharing an idea you're passionate about. Halfway through, someone raises an eyebrow, another smirks. You feel your voice shrink, not because you were wrong, but because you were seen and judged. And just like that, your truth retreats back into silence. Most people aren't living their lives, they're performing them. Edited, filtered, and rehearsed. Why? Because we fear being disliked. We crave belonging so deeply, we trade authenticity for acceptance. But here's the paradox. The more you bend to be liked, the more invisible you become, even to yourself. In this video, we explore why the fear of disapproval is quietly ruining your life, and how the ancient philosophers, modern psychologists, and spiritual teachers all point to the same liberating truth. Freedom begins the moment you stop needing to be understood. Let's begin. The silent cage of approval. From childhood, we are conditioned to seek praise. A smile for good behavior, a gold star for doing what's expected. Over time, this forms an invisible leash, and we carry it into adulthood. We tailor our choices not by what's meaningful, but by what will make others clap. But here's what the Stoics taught. Freedom isn't found in applause, it's found in self-respect. Epictetus said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Why? Because true growth almost always invites criticism. The moment you deviate from the crowd, someone will disapprove, and that's okay. The Buddha, too, warned against attachment to reputation, calling it a worldly chain that binds the soul to suffering. In clinging to what others think, we build a prison around ourselves. A life of second-guessing, self-censorship, and spiritual exhaustion. Neuroscience backs this up. The brain's default mode network, responsible for self-reflection, becomes hyperactive when we anticipate judgment. We literally become less present, less creative, less alive when we obsess over how we're perceived. Here's the uncomfortable truth. When you outsource your self-worth to others, you become their prisoner. And that cage? It's often built from the bricks of your own silence. But what if being disliked isn't a threat, but a sign you're finally showing who you are? The myth of the likable life. We are taught to aim for likability, to smile when we're uncomfortable, to nod when we disagree, to blend in, not stand out. That being liked is the same as being safe. But let's question that. If everyone likes you, who are you really being? Are you honest or just agreeable? The Japanese psychologist Ichiro Kishimi, in TheCourageToBeDisliked, explained a radical idea. Interpersonal relationships are the root of all problems. Not because people are the enemy, but because we entangle our identity with their approval. This is how we lose ourselves. We become actors in someone else's script, afraid to break character, terrified to disappoint. We silence our truths to avoid conflict. We say yes when we mean no. We shrink so others won't feel small. And in doing so, we suffer in quiet resentment. But here's the Stoic answer. To live in alignment with nature is to live in alignment with your nature. And sometimes that means being misunderstood, criticized, even disliked. Neuroscientific studies show that people who live more authentically, even when it's uncomfortable, experience higher long-term well-being, lower anxiety, and greater emotional resilience. So the real danger isn't being disliked. The real danger is living a life so edited, so filtered, that you forget who you are. Being liked may win you comfort, but being real will give you your life back. The fear that keeps you trapped. Why do we stay quiet when we long to speak? Why do we shrink ourselves when our soul wants to expand? It's not because we don't know who we are. It's because we're afraid of who we are without their validation. We fear judgment because we've tied our worth to it. We've made approval a currency and rejection a kind of death. But here's the truth no one tells you. Judgment is inevitable. Whether you stay silent or speak boldly, someone will have something to say. Whether you follow the crowd or walk your own path, someone will disapprove. And so the question becomes, if you will be judged either way, who are you going to be judged as? This is where ancient wisdom becomes powerful. The Stoics taught that the only thing in your control is your character, not your reputation, not others' opinions. Marcus Aurelius wrote, if you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your own judgment of it. Modern psychology backs this. People who develop internal self-validation, the ability to approve of themselves without needing constant affirmation, are happier, more confident, and less reactive to criticism. So ask yourself, are you living to be accepted or living to be authentic? Because the cage isn't made of bars, it's made of fears. Fear of not being liked, fear of being too much, fear of being alone. But here's your key. The moment you stop needing their approval is the moment you begin to taste true freedom. The myth of likability. There's a quiet lie that ruins countless lives. That being liked is the same as being loved. That if you just say the right thing, look the right way, follow the right trends, you'll be safe, you'll be accepted, you'll be enough. But likability is a mask, and the longer you wear it, the more you forget the face underneath. Think about it. You adjust your tone, You water down your opinions. You tolerate situations that bruise your spirit, all to remain likable. But here's the hard truth. Likability is not a measure of your worth. It's a reflection of others' preferences. And their preferences change like the wind. You could spend your whole life twisting yourself into shapes that fit their comfort, only to discover they still don't choose you, or worse, they choose a version of you that doesn't even exist. The Buddha once taught, "There is no one in this world who is liked by all." No sage, no prophet, no revolutionary was universally embraced. Why should you be the exception? Neuroscience shows us that people-pleasing is wired into our survival brain. We're social creatures. Belonging once meant survival. But today, that same instinct can sabotage our authenticity. Freedom begins when you understand this. You are not here to be liked. You are here to be real. To be honest, to be whole. And when you choose truth over image, conviction over conformity, you may lose followers, you may face criticism, but you gain something far more powerful. Self-respect, inner peace, and the unshakable confidence that comes from finally showing up as you. You don't need their permission. Every time you hesitate to speak your truth, every time you shrink in the face of judgment, you're unconsciously waiting for something. Permission. Permission to be who you are, to want what you want, to live a life that makes sense to you. But here's the brutal irony. The people you're waiting on, the ones whose approval you crave, are just as lost, just as unsure, just as afraid of judgment as you are. You're holding back your life for an audience that isn't even paying attention. Adlerian psychology teaches this. The courage to be happy includes the courage to be disliked, because the moment you stop living by someone else's script, you become unpredictable, you become inconvenient, you become free. But freedom is expensive. You'll pay for it with awkward silences, with disapproval, with the cold shoulder from those who preferred the version of you they could control. And yet, what you gain is priceless. Neuroscience confirms that autonomy and authenticity are key drivers of long-term well-being. People who live true to themselves, even when it's hard, experience more fulfillment, more resilience, and less regret. So ask yourself honestly, what would your life look like if you stopped waiting for permission? What would you say? What would you do? Who would you become? You were not born to blend in. You were born to blaze a trail, and that path doesn't need a permission slip. It only needs one thing: courage. Judgment is a mirror, not a verdict. When someone judges you, what are they really saying? Most people think judgment is about you, but it's not. It's about them, their values, their fears, their conditioning. Judgment is a mirror, not a verdict. When someone calls you too much, it usually means they were taught to be less. When they say your dreams are unrealistic, it often means they stopped dreaming long ago. When they call you selfish for choosing yourself, what they mean is, you're doing what I never had the courage to do. Philosopher Epictetus said, if someone speaks ill of you, do not make excuses. Instead ask, are they right? If they are, correct yourself. If they are not, carry on. This is the heart of Stoic resilience. You don't have to defend yourself against every opinion, because most opinions are projections, not truths. Modern psychology backs this up. According to research in social cognition, people judge others based on their own self-concept. Their comments often reveal more about them than about you. So the next time someone criticizes you, pause. Ask, is this about me or is this about them? Use judgment as information, not identity. Because when you internalize other people's insecurities, you abandon your own clarity. You start building a life that's not yours, wearing masks that slowly suffocate your spirit. But freedom lives in the gap between stimulus and response, between what they say and what you choose to believe. Remember, they don't define you. You do. Becoming unshakable. Imagine living in a world where judgment rolls off you like water off a leaf, where the noise of other people's opinions fades into silence, where your worth is no longer a verdict passed down by society, but a quiet truth rooted in your soul. This is not a fantasy. It is a decision. The philosopher Epictetus said, it's not things that upset us, but our judgments about things. And nowhere is this more true than in how we interpret the judgments of others. We think their opinions are facts, but they're not. They're projections, assumptions, reflections of their own fears and insecurities. Most people don't see you. They see a mirror of themselves. And if they don't like what they see, they will try to change your reflection. But here's the secret. You don't have to hold the mirror. To become unshakable is not to become hardened. It is to become clear. Clear in your values. Clear in your purpose. Clear in your boundaries. So clear, in fact, that no one else's opinion can blur your vision. Freedom begins when you stop negotiating your self-worth. When you no longer perform for applause or shrink for approval. When you finally realize that you were never meant to fit into the world, you were meant to transform it. And that kind of courage, the courage to be disliked, isn't loud. It's calm. Certain. Still, it comes from knowing who you are and daring to live it unapologetically. Dare to be free. If you're constantly trying to be liked, you'll never be free. Because every time you trade truth for approval, you lose a piece of yourself. And eventually, you forget who you were before the world told you who to be. But here's the truth the world won't tell you. The most powerful person in the room is the one who no longer needs to be understood. The one who stands rooted in who they are, even if it means standing alone. The one who no longer fears judgment, because they've stopped judging themselves. So ask yourself, are you living your life or someone else's expectations? Real freedom isn't found in fitting in. It's found in walking away from the need to. Be willing to disappoint others to stay true to yourself. Be willing to be misunderstood to be at peace. Be willing to be disliked, because only then will you discover the kind of peace that no one can give you and no one can take away. You weren't born to be a reflection. You were born to be a light. So let them misunderstand you. Let them talk. Let them judge. And shine anyway.